Let me begin by giving a brief introduction about the contents of the Uttarakhand series. A trekking through the snow-filled paths to the Tunganath temple after exploring the splendor of the mountain ranges of Uttarakhand and experiencing the holy breeze from the river Ganga and the culture associated with it. That was a fresh experience for us as we made our trekking during the snowfall. And as a whole, it was a package of 10 days covering the other major tourist attraction like Nainital, Auli, etc. A journey where we could witness different and unique cultures which we cannot find in any other part of our country. And let's dive into the first episode of the series, which covers the places situated on the banks of the river Ganga like Rishikesh, Haridwar, and exploring the village of Sari, which is the beginning of the snowy hills, and having a trekking to the snowy mountains of Tungnath, the Shiva temple, which situates at the highest altitude in the world. We have started our journey by taking the flight from Cochin to Dehradun, and we have got a connecting flight through Delhi, and we have reached Dehradun by 11:30 am in the morning. Our driver was waiting for us at the entrance of the airport itself. Rishikesh, which is known as the gateway of the Himalayas, is our first destination, which is just 20 kilometers away from the Dehradun airport. That hanging bridge, which we can see across the river Ganga, is called the Ramjilla, which was built in 1980. Is a major tourist attraction over here. And Rishikesh is the last place where we can see the river Ganga unpolluted, and as it flows from here, it gets more and more polluted, and thus it has become the most polluted river in the world. The restaurant named Chotiwala is famous vegetarian restaurant over here, which was started in 1958.
58 से registration है.
58
छोटी वाला और कोई नहीं ले सकता इंडिया में.
And we have ordered a thali meal which included some rice and rotis and a lot of curries. And after the lunch, we set off to Haridwar, which is considered as the holy land according to the Hindu traditions. It's a 25-kilometer distance from Rishikesh. The major attraction over here is the Kumbh Mela, which takes place every 12 years, and the next Kumbh Mela will be in 2033. And many people come here to take the bath in the holy river. So now we are heading back to the room as it's getting colder. If you're a believer in traditions and rituals, the first day of the trip itself is heart-filling treat. We are not focusing on much about that as our journeys are on different orientation. This is our room and we can see the river Ganga flowing just in front of us. The river Ganga is not that simple as it flows 2500 kilometers from the Himalayas and merges with the Bay of Bengal after flowing through Bangladesh. And this river is known as Meghna in Bangladesh. We are restarting our journey to the bosom of Himalayas in the morning itself. And our destination today is the village of Sari, from where we can see the snowy mountains of Himalayas. We can see the mountains on our sides as 80% of the whole Uttarakhand comprises of mountains and forests. Public transportation is very limited over here as it's full of hilly terrain. Shared taxis and private buses are the major means of transportation for the public. This is also the river Ganga. It flows almost 250 kilometers from the Himalayas to reach Haridwar. The place named Devaprayag is on our way, where the rivers Alagananda and Bhagirathi merges to Ganga. There are many tributaries for the river Ganga, and the major one among them is the river Yamuna. We have been saying about the river Ganga from the very beginning of our journey, because it has an important role to play in the life of people as it remains as a major means of livelihood. And as we move forward, there's a viewpoint named the Srinagar viewpoint. That town we can see a bit far is Srinagar. It's not the Srinagar in Jammu Kashmir, but it's a small town in Uttarakhand. And by afternoon, we have stopped for the lunch. Though it's not mentioned that it's a vegetarian restaurant, it is actually a vegetarian restaurant and cannot spot any non-vegetarian restaurants over here. I'll give a brief idea about the trip. And as we are traveling as couples this time, we are not having a wide type of trip. But we have already fixed the spots where we should visit and we have already booked the rooms beforehand. And to avoid all the risks in this journey, we have taken the family package provided by the Tripuntold, which includes the taxi and rooms. It is always better to take packages like this if you're traveling to a new place, especially with your family. And I was so confident to take the package of Tripuntold as I've already taken their Lakshadweep package. They are so supportive and customer friendly. There's a pre-wedding photo shoot happening on that bridge. There are two mules which are used as a means to carry sand from the water. And these mules are the mixed breed of donkeys and horse. We can see a lot of hanging bridges almost everywhere in Uttarakhand. A major problem faced in the regions of Uttarakhand is the landsliding. As it rains heavily in the monsoon season, the roads also often slide, and as it is a hilly terrain, the roads are a bit complicated and risky. And most bridges we saw during our journey today was made of irons, as they are easy to repair once it's damaged in the floods, compared to the concrete bridges. So we are entering a small tunnel and reaching the Rudraprayag Sangamam, where the rivers Alagananda and Mandagini merge. It's a speciality over here that we can spot temples in every places where two rivers merge. The river which flows from the right side is the river Alagananda and the other one is the river Mandagini. It's actually a forest area and the pilgrims visit these merging points. It is just 86 kilometers from the Kedarnath. There was a monster leopard in this forest named the leopard of Rudraprayag, which killed almost 125 people. Many hunters came to hunt this leopard, but they never succeeded. And at last, a British hunter named Jim Corbett came and hunted it down. Earlier, Uttarakhand was a part of Uttar Pradesh and there were huge protests happening over here as there were no developmental initiatives. As a fruit of these protests, there came a new state named the Uttaranchal in 2000 November, and in 2006, the name was changed to Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is also known as the Devbhoomi, as Badrinath and Kedarnath are situated over here. Anyways, we are moving forward to the Tunganath temple, and the stay has been arranged in the Sari village. There's a house under construction in the banks of the river, but it's for the first time I saw a house this close to the river, as the river overfloods in monsoons and therefore most houses are constructed in heights away from the river. Another major problem over here is that most boards here are written in Hindi itself. Sometimes you can see the boards written in both English and Hindi in the national highways. People rely on Hindi to communicate over here. Taking packages will ease that task as the driver would help us to speak with the local people if any situation occurs. We couldn't take much visuals on the way to Sari as we have reached a bit late. It's a small village. They don't have big resorts over here, but they have small, lavish homestays like this. After leaving the bags in the room, we're here for the dinner. In the morning, we woke up by hearing the bells. Horses are taking tourists to the Doria mountain, a bit far from here. We climb up the mountain by trekking or by horse. We haven't climbed this mountain as we have another trekking for today. This is the view of Sari, which has a few houses and fields, and there's a little snowfall in the morning. We can see the Tunganath temple from here if we have a clear sky. After the breakfast, we are leaving the room. The best time to visit here is in the months of October and November, after the rains. But there won't be snowfall during this time, but the snowfall season be in the months of December and January. And both seasons give entirely different experience for the tourists. I've already mentioned about the Doria mountain in the uphills. Though it's only 2.5 kilometers distance, it takes almost 2.5 hours to reach over there. There's a small pond on the top. Our car was waiting in the village and we're going to Tunganath. The trekking to Tunganath starts from the town named Chopta. We are going through the forest area and the driver told that sometimes leopards are spotted at night. As the roads are full of curves, it takes almost 1 hour to reach Chopta from Sari, though it's only a 20-kilometer distance. There are some houses in the right side. On the left, it's completely forest. On the way, we spotted some vultures eating the carcass of a cow, and the cow might have been killed by a leopard. We couldn't get the good visuals of those vultures as they flew away when they saw us. We have reached Chopta. The whole area used to be filled with snow, but it was completely dry as there was only a little snowfall. But in some places we could see snow fallen. Our trekking starts from here. Our driver will be waiting here until we head back. There are some shops over here. We can buy biscuits and water from there and we'll get the gloves or jacket if needed. That's the entrance and we'll get sticks to climb the mountain, and you can rent it too by paying 20 rupees. They also provide trekking shoes for rent. This is the ticket counter where we need to pay 200 rupees per person for the pass. As moving up the hills, it's getting colder and the snowfall has just started. There are constructions like benches on the way. We cannot walk continuously without taking rest, as the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere reduces when the altitude increases. All these areas should have been under snow by this time, but the snowfall is late for this season. Here starts a story filled with the vibrancy of snow. It is an amazing experience to walk like this when the snow falls. This was the happiest moment other than the Corbett Tiger Reserve, and the feeling was indescribable. Make it as a bucket list. You should experience the beauty of snow, but don't take any cheap packages. Just remember to take some packages offered by the well-established providers. So let me explain about this trekking. Tunganath, the Shiva temple, situates at an altitude of 12,664 feet. Kedarnath, which is another attraction for the pilgrims, situated at an altitude of 11,755 feet. And all these mountain ranges belong to the Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary. The temple will be closed here for 6 months during the winter as the snow falls heavily. And now the gates of the temple remain closed, and the temple is not the primary aim, but the journey towards it. We have taken the trip in the 3rd week of January, and the place should have been under snow by the end of December. The snowfall was late this year, and snow started to fall just 3 days before our journey. Not just here, but in Kashmir also, snowfall has started only in the 3rd week of January. So from September to December, it will be more greenery over here. It's a 4-kilometer walk to reach the Tunganath temple. But it takes almost 3.5 hours to reach the top of the mountain and almost 1.5 hours to climb it down. So altogether, it's almost 5.5 hours to walk up and down. It's better to reach in the morning itself. So we continued and moved forward. We spotted a Himalayan monal, which is a state bird for Uttarakhand. It is very difficult to spot this bird in the snowy mountains. It has some similarities with the peacock. It's a male bird and the female bird has an entire different color combination. Another important thing to keep in mind is that though there are small shops where we can buy snacks, we need to keep cash in our hand since there's no network coverage on the hilltop, and we need to pay more for tea and snacks since it's the hilltop. At a half distance, we had tea and Maggie, and it's good to have such shops in between in the midst of cold. Though it costs 100 rupees for the Maggie, it's worth enough to get it over here. Another important thing to be taken care of is the snow fallen on the road. The underneath layer becomes pure ice when the snow falls again and again on top of it, which makes it slippery. So bring shoes with metal nail beneath the sole. Some have decided to slide to avoid severe falls. These people are going down as they have come early in the morning, since the gate opens by 6 AM. This trekking is not suitable for elder people as it's too cold and also very slippery. But the visuals of these snowy mountains is actually mind-blowing. So when we travel to the snowy and cold regions, we need to make the necessary precautions to resist the cold. Winter jackets and waterproof shoes are the mandatory for trekking over here. There are some proper criteria while choosing the jackets that we could resist the cold properly. A winter jacket should be used as 3 layers. There should be a thermal to hold the body temperatures in the innermost layer. Then there should be a sweater and winter jacket which comes as the outermost layer, and each product will have its own capacity. We have to select accordingly. We have opted Decathlon since we get the quality products at a reasonable price. So we are about to reach the top. Though we had been so enthusiastic in the beginning, we have slowed down as we climbed up. The road had become more slippery as we are going up, which made the walking a bit difficult. And on the top of the building, we see above the step is the Tunganath temple, and it will be snowing everywhere over here as it is situated at the height of 12,660 feet. It is more difficult to go down than climbing up. We have reached in front of the gate of Tunganath temple after 3.5 hours. We need to return after reaching here since the temple is closed. This is the temple and the entry to this temple will be opened after the winter season. And there is another famous spot over here near the Tunganath, which is the Chandrashila. It is said that it is reasonable to visit Chandrashila while having trekking. But we didn't go there because it was far and we are kind of tired after walking for this long. We are going down the hills, which is the riskiest part of trekking. So our episode is coming to an end over here, and in the next episode of this series, we'll be seeing the Ollie, which is another remarkable moment in the snow, and the chair car in the snowy mountains. We'll explore another major tourist spot of Uttarakhand named the Nainital, and the beautiful visuals treat on the way to Nainital. So let's meet once again in the coming episode.